For longer than anyone could remember, the name Vorlag echoed across the stars. It was not spoken loudly. It was whispered in the dark corners of spaceports. It was typed fearfully into military reports. It was a name that meant endings. Stars vanished near his territory. Ships that strayed too close were never seen again. Entire fleets had been sent to stop him, to understand him, only to be unmade, scattered into atoms, or simply erased from existence. The Grek coalition, logical and stern, declared him a cosmic hazard, a force of pure destruction to be avoided at all costs. The Sylvan mystics felt his presence as a cold void in the cosmic song, a terrifying silence where life ought to be. For centuries, the galaxy agreed on one thing: Vorlag was fear itself, vast and unknowable. Patrols skirted the edges of the shifting expanse, the chaotic region he haunted. Warning beacons pulsed across light years, flashing danger. Vorlag zone turned back. No one went in, no one who mattered anyway. Maya drifted. Her small ship, the Stargazer, was broken. Not destroyed, just broken. The engine coughed its last gasp hours ago after hitting a ripple in space, a gravitational wave that shouldn't have been there. Now, she floated silently in the dark, alone. Warning lights blinked weakly on the console, red and yellow painting her face in the gloom. She checked the navigation screen. The blinking dot that was her ship was deep inside the warning zone, deep inside the shifting expanse, deep inside Vorlag's territory. Fear, cold and sharp, pricked at her. She had heard the stories. Everyone had. Vorlag, the Star Ender, the silent apocalypse. She squeezed her eyes shut, taking a deep breath. Panic wouldn't help. She was a cartographer, a mapper of strange places. She dealt with facts, with charts, with the known. But this was off the charts. This was the land of monsters. Her ship was tumbling slowly. Through the main viewport, strange colors swam, nebulae that twisted like tortured ribbons, stars that flickered not with steady light, but with nervous pulses. Space itself seemed warped here, unstable, beautiful, in a terrifying way. Maya unstrapped herself from the pilot's chair. The ship's internal gravity was failing, making her movements light and clumsy. She floated towards the small galley. Food and water were low. Air was recycling, but the filters were getting old. Power was minimal. Only life support and basic sensors running. She was well and truly stuck, miles light years from help. She looked at the emergency beacon. It was offline. The spatial ripple had damaged that too. Useless. She found a nutrient bar, unwrapped it, and nibbled slowly, making it last. What now? Wait for what? To run out of air? To starve? Or for Vorlag to find her? The thought sent another shiver down her spine. She pushed it away. Think. Be creative. That's what her mentor always said. When the maps failed, make your own path. She floated back to the cockpit. The ship drifted closer to a swirling mass of violet and gold energy. It looked like a cosmic storm, but the ship's sensors registered nothing. No radiation, no gravity spikes, just empty space that looked like a painter's nightmare. Or dream. Maya tapped on her datapad. Its screen flickered to life, showing her sketches. She wasn't just a cartographer. She was an artist. She drew the strange things she saw in deep space. Weird, Shumlin, impossible geometries, light patterns that seemed alive. It helped her make sense of things. It helped her stay calm. She started sketching the violet and gold storm outside. Her fingers moved quickly, lines forming on the digital canvas. She tried to capture the way the colors moved, the impossible depths. As she drew, she felt a strange sensation, a tingling on her skin, a low hum vibrating through the ship's hull. It wasn't sound, not exactly. It was deeper, felt in her bones. Outside, the swirling colors seemed to brighten, to pulse in time with the hum. Maya stopped drawing, her heart pounding. Was it Vorlag? Was this how it happened? The sensors still showed nothing, just empty space. But the hum grew stronger. It filled the small cockpit. It wasn't frightening anymore. It felt curious. Maya stared at the swirling nebula. Could it be? Could Vorlag be that? Not a monster, not a ship, but space itself, or something in space, She looked down at her datapad at the sketch she made. An idea sparked, wild and maybe stupid. She held the datapad up to the viewport, displaying her drawing of the swirling colors. The humming changed pitch. It became higher, almost like a questioning tone. The colors outside shifted. The violet deepened. The gold swirled faster. It felt like attention, like something was looking back. Maya's breath hitched. She swallowed hard. Okay, Maya, be brave, or be foolish. Maybe they were the same thing right now. She tapped her datapad again, switching from the drawing app to the audio recorder. She hesitated for a moment, then took another deep breath and started to speak. Hello? Her voice was small, shaky in the silent cabin. Is anyone there? My name is Maya. My ship is broken. I'm lost. She paused, feeling incredibly silly. Talking to a nebula. Talking to the most feared entity in the galaxy. I saw you, she continued, gesturing with the datapad towards the swirling colors. You're very striking. I tried to draw you. She displayed the sketch again. The humming intensified. The colors outside pulsed rapidly, then settled back into their slow swirl. It felt like listening. Maybe Vorlog wasn't a being in the way people thought. Maybe it didn't communicate with words or radio waves. Maybe it felt things differently. Maya thought about the fear, centuries of fear. Everyone running, everyone fighting. Had anyone ever just talked? She switched the datapad to its music player. She didn't have much loaded, just a few personal files. Comfort sounds. She selected a simple piece, a slow melody played on an old earth instrument called a cello. The music filled the cockpit, warm and melancholic. Outside, the effect was immediate. The violet and gold storm seemed to lean closer. The light softened. The humming resonated with the cello's notes, harmonizing in a way that sent shivers down Maya's spine. But not from fear this time. It was awe. The colors pulsed gently, like a slow heartbeat. Maya watched, mesmerized. Vorlag the Starender, the creature of nightmares, seemed to be listening to music, seemed to like it. Days passed. Or maybe they were cycles. Time felt strange in the shifting expanse. Maya conserved her resources carefully. She talked to the swirling colors she now simply called Vorlag. She showed Vorlag her drawings. She played music. Sometimes she just described her home. Earth, green grass, blue oceans, noisy cities. She talked about feeling lonely sometimes, even when surrounded by people. She talked about fear and hope. She didn't know if Vorlag understood the words, but the presence outside her broken ship listened. The colors shifted. The humming vibrated, responding to the emotions in her voice, the melodies she played. Sometimes, Vorlag would move. Not the swirling colors right outside, but something vast, out in the distance. A flicker of impossible light. A ripple in space. Once, a small dying star nearby flared dangerously. Before Maya could react, a wave of calm energy washed over it from the direction of Vorlag's main presence. The star settled, its light softening. Vorlag hadn't destroyed it. Vorlag had stabilized it. The stories Maya realized might be wrong, or incomplete. Fear was a powerful lens. It distorted everything. She discovered Vorlag could interact more directly. One cycle, her ship's failing life support system sputtered alarmingly. Oxygen levels dipped. Maya felt dizzy, her vision blurring. Panic started to rise. She gasped out, "Vorlag, help." The humming outside intensified. A thin tendril of the violet light detached from the main swirling mass. It flowed towards the stargazer, phasing through the hull like smoke. Maya flinched back, terrified for a moment, but the light didn't harm anything. It flowed towards the life support unit, surrounding it. The failing machine whirred, then hummed with renewed energy. The oxygen levels climbed back to normal. The violet light pulsed gently, then flowed back out through the hull, rejoining the swirling cloud. Maya stared, breathing deeply, the fresh air. Vorlag had understood. Vorlag had helped. This changed everything. Vorlag wasn't just passively listening. Vorlag could understand need, could choose to help. Why the fearsome reputation then? Why the destroyed ships? The vanished stars? Maya didn't have answers, but she wasn't afraid anymore. Not in the same way. She felt a strange connection to the entity outside, a fragile, tentative understanding. Friendship wasn't the right word. Not yet. But it wasn't fear either. It was contact. Meanwhile, far away, the Grek coalition was worried. Their long-range sensors detected anomalies within the shifting expanse. Not Vorlag's usual chaotic signatures, but something else. Something absorbing energy, a growing patch of absolute silence, where even the background radiation of space ceased to exist. Commander Tarak, a Grek known for his rigid adherence to protocol and logic, studied the sensor readings. His gray skin seemed tighter than usual. His dark eyes narrowed. The anomaly is expanding, his science officer reported, its voice flat, devoid of emotion as Grek voices often were. It consumes all energy signatures within its perimeter, including the chaotic fluctuations associated with subject Vorlag. Tarak tapped his claws on the console. Vorlag's territory is shrinking? Affirmative. The Silent Zone, designation Silent Fade, is encroaching upon Vorlag's operational area. At its current rate, it will consume the entire shifting expanse within standard cycles. And Vorlag's reaction? Tarak asked. Subject Vorlag appears to be attempting containment. We detect massive energy expenditures near the Fade's border. Directed energy bursts, spatial distortions. They have no effect. The Silent Fade absorbs or nullifies them. Tarak considered this, Vorlag, the destroyer, was fighting something else. Something that could absorb even Vorlag's power? This was unprecedented. Unsettling. Could the Fade be a threat to Coalition space? Probability high, Commander. If it consumes the shifting expanse, its expansion vector indicates it will intersect with Coalition trade routes and border worlds. Options? Tarak demanded. Option 1. Fortify borders. Observe. High risk of eventual confrontation. The science officer paused. Option 2. Intervene. Attempt to neutralize the Silent Fade. Requires entering the shifting expanse. High risk due to Vorlag's presence and the unknown nature of the Fade. Tarak didn't like either option. Entering Vorlag's territory was against every protocol, every instinct honed over centuries of fear. But letting this Silent Fade grow, logic dictated the threat must be assessed, possibly eliminated. Prepare a task force, Tarak ordered. Stealth configuration. We will approach the edge of the shifting expanse. Observe Vorlag's interaction with this Silent Fade. Gather data. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. His orders were crisp, logical, but beneath the calm exterior, Tarak felt a flicker of something illogical. Unease. The universe was supposed to follow predictable laws. Vorlag was a known danger. This Fade, it was a frightening unknown. Back on the Stargazer, Maya was also becoming aware of the new threat. Vorlag's behavior had changed. The calm, listening presence was often agitated now. The colors outside her ship sometimes flickered wildly. Distant, titanic energies flared and died abruptly. Through her repaired sensors, Maya could detect it too. A region of space nearby that was utterly unnervingly black. Not the black of space between stars, but a deeper black. A hungry black. Sensors that probed it returned nothing. No energy. No matter, no information. It was like a hole in reality itself. Vorlag seemed to be fighting it. Maya watched as colossal waves of energy, shapes of pure force that defied geometry, surged from Vorlag's core towards the blackness. They hit the edge of the Silent Fade and simply vanished, absorbed without a trace. The humming that filled Maya's ship became discordant, strained. It felt like frustration, like effort, like fear. Could Vorlag feel fear? One cycle. The Fade pulsed. It expanded suddenly, swallowing another swathe of the shifting expanse. It came closer to Maya's position, closer to the swirling cloud of light that was her strange companion. Vorlag reacted violently. Space itself seemed to scream. As Vorlag unleashed energies that Maya couldn't comprehend, stars flickered light years away. But the Fade merely absorbed it all, growing slightly larger. Maya felt a tremor of real terror. This thing, it was unstoppable. It consumed light, energy, maybe even space-time itself. And Vorlag, the being feared across the galaxy, couldn't stop it. She had to do something. But what? She was one human in a broken ship. She looked at her datapad, at her drawings, her music. tools for connection, not for fighting cosmic horrors, but connection, understanding. Maybe that was the key. Vorlag fought with raw power, throwing energy against a void that ate energy. It was like trying to douse a fire with oil. What if the solution wasn't more power, but different power, a different approach? She remembered the cello music, how Vorlag had responded. Harmonized, resonance, harmony, patterns. The fade seemed like pure chaos, pure entropy. Could it be countered with the opposite, with structure, with complex resonant patterns? It was a wild guess, a shot in the deepest dark, but it was better than waiting to be erased. She opened her drawing app again. This time she didn't sketch what she saw. She started creating patterns, symmetrical shapes, interlocking geometries, fractal designs that repeated and evolved. She combined them with sound, using a simple synthesizer program on her pad to create complex, harmonic frequencies. She layered melodies, creating waves of sound that built and resonated. She poured all her focus, her creativity, her hope into it. She wasn't just making patterns, she was trying to build a shield of order, a beacon of structure against the encroaching silence. As she worked, Vorlag seemed to notice. The agitated flickering outside calmed slightly. The discordant humming smoothed out. Listening, Maya felt a surge of hope. Maybe, this could work. She refined the patterns, linking the visual geometry to the audio frequencies. She tried to create something complex but stable, a pattern that could perhaps resonate with Vorlag's energy, but focus it, shape it, give it a structure the fade couldn't simply absorb. Vorlag, she said, her voice steadier now. She held up the datapad, displaying the intricate, pulsing mandala of light and sound she had created. Look, listen, raw power isn't working, but maybe structure, harmony, maybe we can create a resonance, a frequency the fade can't absorb, something that pushes back. The humming deepened. The swirling colors outside intensified, swirling faster and faster. Vorlag seemed to be considering it, focusing on the pattern on her small screen. Then, a tendril of light, brighter than before, flowed from Vorlag towards her datapad. It didn't touch it. It hovered just above the screen, seeming to absorb the pattern, the light, the sound. Maya watched, holding her breath. Suddenly, Vorlag acted. Not with waves of raw energy this time. Instead, Vorlag began to emit a complex field of structured energy. It mirrored the patterns Maya had created, but on a cosmic scale, luminous. Intricate geometries unfolded in space. Resonant frequencies vibrated through the expanse, complex harmonies echoing the simple melodies from Maya's datapad. It was beautiful, terrifyingly beautiful. This structured energy field flowed towards the silent fade. When it hit the edge of the blackness, it didn't vanish. It didn't get absorbed. It resonated. The structured energy field created by Vorlag, guided by Maya's pattern, seemed to interfere with the fade's consuming nature. The edge of the blackness shimmered, buckled. It stopped expanding. For the first time, the silent fade was pushed back, even if only slightly. A cheer escaped Maya's lips. It was working. But the effort was immense. Vorlag's light pulsed erratically. The humming became strained again. Maintaining the complex, structured field was incredibly draining. Even for an entity like Vorlag. The fade pushed back, its silent hunger resisting the imposed order. It was a stalemate, but a fragile one. Vorlag couldn't sustain this alone. That was when the Grek ships arrived. A dozen sleek, gray vessels materialized at the edge of the shifting expanse, silent and cloaked. Commander Turok stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the impossible scene unfold on the main viewer. Vorlag, the agent of chaos, was emitting structured energy fields, fighting something else. And near the heart of it, a tiny, insignificant signal, a derelict human vessel. Commander, the science officer reported, we detect complex energy patterns emanating from Vorlag, matching harmonic and geometric sequences. Highly ordered, highly unusual. Source appears correlated with weak signals from the human ship. Turok stared. A human? A single human ship? Adrift in Vorlag's domain? Involved in this? It defied all logic. Humans were young, emotional, unpredictable. They were not considered major players on the galactic stage. How could one be connected to Vorlag's actions? Focus sensors on the human vessel, Tarok ordered. They saw the stargazer, damaged but intact. They detected the faint signals from Maya's datapad, the patterns, the music. Commander, another officer reported, the silent fade is adapting. It is beginning to destabilize Vorlag's energy field. The containment is failing. On the viewer, Tarok saw it happen. Cracks appeared in the luminous geometries. The resonant harmony wavered. The edge of the fade began to creep forward again. Vorlag pulsed, a wave of desperate energy washing outwards. Inside the stargazer, Maya felt it too. The connection wavered. Vorlag's effort was faltering. No, she whispered. Don't give up. She pushed her datapad harder, refining the patterns, increasing the intensity of the sound, trying to reinforce the structure, but her small device was nothing compared to the cosmic forces at play. Suddenly, a thought struck her. Resonance. Harmony. Vorlag was using her pattern, but maybe it needed more voices, more sources of structure. She looked towards the edge of the expanse, where her sensors now showed the Grek ships. They were just watching, logical, calculating, probably deciding Vorlag and the Fade would destroy each other. But what if they helped? She opened a communication channel. Not to Vorlag this time, but broadcasting on a wide open frequency. Her voice shook slightly, but she kept it clear. This is Maya, of the human vessel Stargazer, adrift in the shifting expanse. I am addressing the Grek vessels, observing this sector. On the Grek flagship, alarms beeped. Unidentified human broadcast. Commander. Tarok's eyes narrowed. On screen, audio. Maya's face appeared on the main viewer, small and pale, but determined. Her voice filled the Grek bridge, surprisingly calm amidst the cosmic battle raging behind her image. Commander Tarok, I know you are there. I see you. You see what is happening. Vorlag is not your enemy right now. The silent fade. It will consume everything if we don't stop it here. Tarok remained impassive. State your purpose, human. Vorlag is trying to contain the fade using structured energy, based on patterns I provided. But Vorlag cannot sustain it alone. The fade, it absorbs raw power, but it struggles against complex resonance, against order. Maya held up her datapad, showing the swirling patterns. Your ships have energy emitters, tractor beams, shield generators. They can create frequencies. They can project patterns. If you synchronize your systems, if you add your resonance to Vorlag's, we might be able to stabilize the field, push the fade back. The Grek bridge was silent. The idea was illogical. Cooperate with Vorlag, the Star Ender, based on the suggestion of a stranded human, using patterns and resonance. Commander, the science officer interjected. The human's hypothesis is unconventional. However, our analysis confirms Vorlag's current energy output is highly structured. The silent fade is demonstrably vulnerable to this structured field, though it is now overcoming it. Adding synchronized resonant energy from our fleet, the probability of reinforcing the containment field is non-zero. Tarok looked at the screen. At the human, Maya, her eyes held no deception, only desperate sincerity. He looked at the expanding silent fade. He looked at Vorlag, the ancient fear, now fighting a desperate battle. Logic warred with centuries of ingrained protocol and fear. Helping Vorlag was unthinkable. Doing nothing meant the fade might eventually reach coalition space. The human's solution was bizarre, unproven, yet it was the only option presented that offered a chance, however small. And the human, she had survived alone in Vorlag's domain. She had somehow communicated with the entity. Perhaps there was more to humans and to Vorlag than Grek logic had accounted for. Science officer, Tarok said, his voice tight. Can we replicate the harmonic and geometric patterns broadcast by the human vessel? Affirmative, Commander. Complex, but within our system's capabilities. Do it, Tarok ordered. All ships. Synchronize shield harmonics and tractor beam emitters. Project the pattern towards Vorlag's structured field. Modulate intensity to achieve resonance. A wave of disbelief rippled through the bridge crew, but they obeyed instantly. Across the Grek task force, systems hummed as they adjusted frequencies. aligning their energy outputs to the strange musical patterns created by a human artist on a broken ship. Focused beams of patterned energy shot from the Grek vessels, not as weapons but as waves of reinforcing resonance. Inside the Stargazer, Maya saw the Grek ships light up, adding their power to the fight. Relief washed over her. She hadn't expected them to listen. Vorlag felt it too. The strain lessened. The humming around Maya's ship grew stronger, steadier. Infused with the Grek's synchronized power, Vorlag's structured energy field blazed anew, brighter and more stable than before. The intricate geometries sharpened. The harmonic resonance deepened, filling the expanse with a cosmic symphony of order. The effect on the silent fade was dramatic. The shimmering edge didn't just stop, it recoiled. The hungry blackness visibly shrank, pushed back by the overwhelming wave of structured resonant energy. Vorlag, now bolstered by the Grek fleet, pressed the advantage. The luminous field expanded, driving the fade further and further back, until the terrifying void was contained, reduced to a fraction of its former size, seemingly dormant within the heart of the reinforced energy structure. Silence fell. The intense energy subsided. The Grek emitters powered down. Vorlag's light softened, the complex geometries fading back into the familiar swirling colors of violet and gold. Though they seemed calmer now, clearer. The humming around Maya's ship was soft, almost gentle. A feeling of immense exhaustion radiated from the entity, but also something else. Gratitude, understanding. On the Grek flagship, the crew stared at their screens in stunned silence. They had done it. They had helped Vorlag. They had stopped the silent fade. And they had done it following the lead of a human. Commander Tarak stood motionless for a long moment, processing the illogical outcome. He looked at the image of Maya still on his screen. She looked exhausted but was smiling faintly. Human vessel, Stargazer, Tarak said, his voice losing some of its usual rigidity. Report your status. Status is stable, Maya replied, her voice tired. Ship is still damaged. Life support is functional, thanks to earlier assistance. We seem to be safe for now. The fade is contained. Assistance? Tarak queried. From whom? Maya hesitated, glancing towards the swirling colors outside her viewport. From Vorlag, she said simply. Another wave of silence hit the Grek bridge. Vorlag had assisted the human, helped her. Tarak felt the foundations of centuries of assumptions cracking. Vorlag was not just destruction. It could choose. It could help. It could apparently communicate, in its own way, with this human. Commander, the science officer said, awe creeping into its usually flat voice. Long-range sensors detect approaching vessels. Sylvan registry. A small group of sleek, organic-looking Sylvan ships emerged from hyperspace nearby. They broadcast messages of caution, but also curiosity. They had detected the massive energy shifts, the containment of the fade, the unprecedented Grek-Vorlag interaction. Lara, a Sylvan elder known for her wisdom, appeared on Tarak's view screen. Her large, dark eyes seemed to hold ancient knowledge. Commander Turok, Lara's voice was melodic. Calm. We felt the shift. The silence recedes. Order returns to the expanse. What has occurred here? Turok paused. How to explain the illogical? Elder Lyra, he began, choosing his words carefully. We faced a mutual threat, designated silent fade. Containment was achieved through unconventional cooperation. He gestured towards Maya's image still displayed on a side screen, facilitated by the human Maya. Lara's gaze shifted to Maya's image. The Sylvans were mildly telepathic, capable of sensing strong emotions, intentions. Lara tilted her head, a gesture of contemplation. A human. Here. With Vorlag. She focused, and a soft smile touched her lips. Ah, I feel it now. No fear from her, only connection, understanding. And from the great presence, Vorlag, weariness, but also curiosity, interest, focused on the human. Maya, hearing this through the open channel Turok had kept active, felt a blush rise. Connection. Yes, that felt right. The human showed us a different way, Turok admitted, the words feeling strange but true. Logic dictated Vorlag was only a threat. Protocol demanded avoidance or destruction. But the human, she reached out. She communicated through patterns, through emotion. She offered cooperation. He paused, realizing the weight of his next words. Our understanding of Vorlag, and perhaps of humanity, may have been incomplete. Lyra nodded slowly. Fear deafens. It blinds. For centuries we have only feared Vorlag. We never considered listening. Perhaps it took a species young enough, stubborn enough, emotional enough to try something different. She looked towards the swirling colors of Vorlag's presence. The cosmic song feels different now. Less silent, less cold. Maya knew this was a turning point. The galaxy had witnessed something impossible. Cooperation between the feared Vorlag and the logical Grek, brokered by a lost human artist, using patterns and harmony to fight a consuming void. The fear of Vorlag wouldn't vanish overnight. Centuries of terror were not easily erased. But doubt had been planted. Curiosity sparked. Maybe Vorlag wasn't the monster. Maybe Vorlag was just different. And maybe humanity, with its strange mix of logic and emotion, creativity and stubbornness, had a unique role to play in bridging those differences. A Grek rescue vessel was dispatched to retrieve Maya and the Stargazer. As the tractor beam locked on, gently pulling her small ship away from Vorlag's immediate vicinity, Maya looked back at the swirling violet and gold lights. The humming intensified for a moment, a clear, resonant tone that felt like acknowledgement, like farewell, or perhaps like until next time. Maya smiled. She picked up her datapad and started sketching again. Not the fear, not the danger, but the connection. The swirling lights, the resonant patterns, the feeling of understanding passing between two vastly different beings in the silent depths of space. Commander Torok watched the human ship being towed away. He turned to his science officer, set a course back to Coalition Command, and cataloged this event. Classification, paradigm shift. The Grek and Sylvan ships turned, leaving the shifting expanse quieter than it had been in centuries. The warning beacons remained, but perhaps soon, they would carry a different message. Not just danger, but unknown. Approach with caution, and perhaps, listen. Vorlag remained, the vast, ancient presence in the now stabilized expanse. The silent fade was quiet, contained within the fading resonance of the joint effort. Vorlag watched the small human ship depart. It had never known interaction beyond fear. Attacks, avoidance, silence. The human, Maya, had been different. She had shown no aggression. She had offered patterns, music, emotion, connection, a novel input, unexpected, intriguing. Vorlag shifted its immense form, the colors swirling thoughtfully. The universe was vast, and full of predictable cycles of energy and matter. But the human was something new, something unpredictable. And deep within the heart of the contained silent fade, something stirred, pushed back, but not destroyed. Waiting. Maya, safe aboard the Grek vessel, looked out at the receding stars of the shifting expanse. She clutched her datapad, filled with new drawings, new music, new understanding. The galaxy had feared Vorlag for centuries because they didn't understand, they hadn't tried to listen. She had, and in doing so, she hadn't just saved herself, or helped stop a cosmic threat. She had shown the galaxy, and perhaps Vorlag itself, that the greatest strength wasn't always power or logic, but the stubborn, illogical, human reach for connection. The Grek ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving the shifting expanse behind. But Maya knew her encounter with Vorlag wasn't truly over. A bridge had been built, fragile perhaps, but real, made not of steel or energy, but of shared patterns and mutual vulnerability. Vorlag lingered, a silent guardian in its strange domain. The fear it inspired across the galaxy remained, a habit too old to break quickly. But now, there was something else mixed with the fear. A question, a possibility, planted by one small human who hadn't run away but had instead offered the universe's most feared entity the one thing it had never known: friendship.